to be right. I think about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. And baby, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby. Such a rush, baby. When you love me, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chick, you're listening to Viva ENT. We have a spectacular show today. I'm Devin, the DJ, filling in for Johnnny the Capo, and I'm here with Mr.
Johnnny Rockstar.
And of course, our favorite producer.
Hey, it's Eric.
CC Rider! And we are postponing 1987 Part 1 for next week because we have Randy Hansen on the line. Say hi, Randy.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're doing great.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're doing great here. Man, great to hear your voice, Randy.
Everybody healthy over there and everything?
We are. And you?
Yeah, I just got my Johnson & Johnson shot over the weekend.
Yeah, you're out at the Skagit County Fairgrounds. I was out there videoing you.
Yeah, I figured it's so handy. He was right there. I've really been kind of sequestered at home a lot, so I just figured better late than never.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah, my feet have been cold since this weekend because you rocked my socks off twice.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, the Tony V's Garage, and
fun playing.
You were incredible.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
He always is.
And you got some upcoming shows, I've heard.
Yeah, they got to hope they're starting to break free with some new shows for me and everything, and hopefully everything is holds steady, and we can do them all.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're traveling like New York and Georgia, and
yeah, they threw some darts at a map, and there we go.
Nice.
That's Kevin's booking method?
Yeah, that's how he does it.
That rocks. That rocks. May I just jump in here real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to talk about something that occurred to me. Once upon a time, I went to a show that featured the Beach Boys, the Kinks, and a man named Randy Hansen opening up with his band Machine Gun at a place called Memorial Stadium. And it was a cloudy day, that epic day, and that was my first experience seeing the one, the only, the super badass Randy Hansen doing his show. And Randy, you did things at that show that I have never seen anyone do ever. You are absolutely one of the best. That was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I just had to throw that in there.
Well, that was my second concert I ever did in my whole life.
Really? Wow.
You
the
did
first
this.
one was the day before. I was HIC Arena with Hart, and then next day I was there with those guys. I was like going, man, this is bizarre.
Man,
everything's happening so fast,
You tore it
was pretty
to
neat.
To pieces. I was there with Ward Nelson, who you may know as the guitar player for a band called Crisis Party, and also the Refusers. And we were singing along with every song. Randy played that show. There was no breaks in between songs. It was one long medley. You opened up with Fire, and you just knocked us out. That was your second show.
Mm-hmm.
How do you develop
That's
this?
the way we worked it back then. I didn't want to stop and have people clap and stuff. I just wanted to squeeze as many Hendrix songs in as I could do,
You knocked us
so
out.
That was the object back then.
Knocked us out. Then later on, I saw you at the Paramount. You had 2-day stand. I saw the second show. I went there early and waited in line. I was like the fifth person into the building. I was front row for that show, and you did this part where you opened up the fog came out. The what is that fog called again? That goes on
like
the ground?
kind of dry ice.
Dry
hazer.
ice fog came out. Here we have the lights go down, the crowd goes crazy, and then here comes the dry ice fog, and then you can hear the guitar, the feedback swelling, and all of a sudden there you are. You rise out of the mists of the fog and your Hendrix regalia as if you had come directly from heaven and projected deep into. Oh my
I had
God.
to crawl out there.
Yeah,
under
you
the
had to
bar
crawl
with
out there.
my
Oh my
breath,
God,
you know?
Randy, that worked. That worked so amazingly badass. I mean, that was such a moment, and it wasn't just the LSD talking. I'm telling you, that was epic,
Well, the
epic.
bubble gum, yeah.
Or the bubble gum either. Yeah, that Bubblicious was amazing back then. But man, that was an epic moment. Epic. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm glad you like that. I remember, I never knew what it looked like until I saw a video of that, and I went, oh, that kind of works.
Oh man, that works, dude. That works. So, and then at that particular concert, you stripped off your costume. You stripped off your afro and your Hendrix look, and it was Randy. And you asked us, is it okay if we play some of my original songs? And you played your original songs for us, just like that first show I saw in one long medley, and
my hair was really long and
knocked us out. And you went out into the audience and played in the seats. And you did every single trick in the book, doing quadruple somersaults in the air. I mean,
Yeah,
how do you practice that?
Yeah, how do you practice playing with your teeth? Or that's amazing.
I just, when I first started, I made a lot of mistakes and cut up my gums and everything, and so you get better at it. The first time I did it I was pretty horrible at it, and it just took a lot of practice. Now it's easy.
Yeah, you're doing so well at the Skagit County Fairgrounds. I had to cut If 6 Was 9 because it flagged it as Jimi Hendrix was playing it. So
you're basically channeling.
I love playing that song. To me, that is one of his quintessential. Like it's got all the jazz in there. It's got all the psychedelia in there. It's the blues and Jimmy's voice, and then it's just. Yeah, and it was part of that movie Easy Rider, so it was like, yeah, I love that song. I love all of Jimmy's songs, actually. He didn't ride a dog.
He did not.
Do
you ever do the song from Cry of Love where it starts out, hand me that bottle, and I'll sing you all a real song?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did that recently, acoustically at a party. Just because I thought, well, I'm here by myself, and I don't have my gears. I had an acoustic guitar laying there. I thought, oh, I could do that one. That would sound good. Actually, a lot of stuff of Jimmy's sounds all right on acoustic guitars. I think he wrote a lot of it on acoustic guitar.
Oh, probably, yeah.
And and then transferred it to electric and everything. He seemed to do that a lot. He had an acoustic guitar he liked to carry around with him.
What could you share with us about you seeing him live at Sick Stadium, please?
Wow. Well, that was my first concert that my mom let me and my brother go to unattended, unsupervised. And I couldn't believe she let us do that, for one. Then when we got in there was like people smoking weed all over the place and probably taking acid, and everything you could imagine was going on in there. And I'm just a little kid, I was like 16, and I never got real tall, so and I've always looked younger than my age, so I always got treated like a little kid, and so I worked my way up front, and there was some badass players that day. Cactus was there. Their set was amazing. And then when Hendrix came on, I was standing basically right underneath him. He moved his mic stand right out to the edge of the stage. And then sometimes he would play with his feet, the tips of his toes dangling off the front of the stage. And it was raining out, and there was like water dripping off of his boots right into my forehead and into my eyes. I kept on having to wipe my eyes so I could see him.
Wow.
And everything. And so I'm looking directly up at him, like I'm an ant at his feet, and it's just looking up at him and just seeing him, the way that he would express himself and everything was just amazing to me, and I thought, wow, he's so into it, and listen to what's coming out, and I kept thinking, why does he sound different than everybody else that has been on stage today? And I didn't figure it out then, but later on I figured out, well, he's tuned his guitar down low, he didn't use a tuner. So he'd just walk on stage and tune his guitar, and wherever it ended up, that's what they would tune to. And some shows he was tuned super low.
And he's
Like
left-handed
almost
too,
down to
so
the key of D, and his E string would be a D, and I'm going like, wow, that's what's accounting for the heaviness.
Yeah. In my Black Sabbath tribute that I'm in, we play in a drop C sharp. So we play
you got
super
to
low.
tune down,
Yeah.
or else it sounds pixie-ish.
You can't get that sound another way.
Yeah.
What are some of the highlights
first
that you
album.
remember from that show? What's any song moments that stand out? I heard he played "Rainy Day Dream Away," which is not a song he played live a lot.
I like that one.
I don't remember him. I don't remember a lot of what he played. Actually, I remember "Freedom." I remember the new stuff that he played, and then, "Foxy Lady" and "Purple Haze" and stuff like that. But there was a lot of new stuff that he played, and I was going like, "What's this? And what's this? I don't recognize all these songs." And I was going like, but I really liked what he was doing because it seemed more complex than than his earlier albums and everything. And I thought it was less of a jam and more really worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, another thing that I remember about that show is, he got kind of upset at the show. Somebody threw a fluorescent pink pillow and a Marks a Lot pen up there, and he got pissed off at that. And he went over to the pillow and he booted it off the stage. And then he went back to the microphone. And he said, "I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't throw anything up on the stage, because I got kind of stoned on some scotch last night at a friend's house, and I feel like jumping on some cat's head anyway."
Wow.
And he was really not happy to be back in Seattle.
Really?
Because it was a hassle for him. All of his friends would come out of the woodwork and would want to get in free, and so rather than stay at home where he could be reached, he'd go to a hotel when he reached Seattle. He made the mistake of staying at home probably the first time that he played, like at the Coliseum or wherever that was, or Eagles, and the phone rang off the hook.
And everyone is his long-lost friend. Yeah.
You get a lot of phone calls, right, Randy?
Huh?
You get a lot of phone calls from people like me, right? Asking you to sit in with their band.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind so much. It's when people lose interest in me, then I'll start worrying. But I'm more than happy to get people into my show. I'm not Jimmy, so it's not that special to me.
Well, you channel Jimmy.
You are channeling Jimmy. What was it like? I hate to steal your show here, my brother, but
no,
Randy and I've bumped into her. I've been so blessed. I cannot believe how blessed I am. My band Lounge Vultures opened for you once. My band Zombie Jihad opened for you once. Zombie Jihad's record release party we opened for you.
You've always been hot as a pistol, man. We hire you all the time because your band really gets them excited.
Oh man, that rocks,
And
man!
every
I will
band
open
that
for
you've
you
ever played in,
anytime, anywhere.
I've always dug your bands and your slant on everything. You keep it working and you keep it fresh. So
Man, that is
pretty
high
cool.
praise.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you remember this, but even this occurred once. When Zombie Jihad had its record release party, I packed all the gear into the van, which broke down. And then I had to get a tow truck to haul my van to the venue. So I roll up in my van, but it's being carried by a tow truck. There's your entire crew looking and watching and laughing, rightfully so. Well, as long as you got to the gig, there's the van packed full of gear, being towed by the tow truck. You remember this, right?
I do.
At the sound check. And then bless your heart. Bless you and your band. You guys all get up and help me hump all that gear into the facility. Man, blessings to you. Praise and admiration and respect. Like you guys are.
Everybody knows this, and that's the hardest part of our gig. I mean, we don't get paid for playing; we get paid for moving.
Exactly correct. That was one of the most touching moments ever. And I opened for you, and then, gosh, if this happened, you opened for Whiskey River when I was in Whiskey River briefly, and I was like, how did this happen? But I want to get to a question here, Randy. What was it like for you to play with Mitch Mitchell and Billy Cox And I don't know if you played with Noel Redding or not, but what was that like to play with Jimmy's band?
Yeah, I got lucky, and got to play with the Gypsies and the Experience, and that was mind blowing. Really, being able to do that, I couldn't believe my lucky stars, and I was just went. Mitch was the craziest of anybody, any musician I've ever played with in my life. That man was the craziest person off the stage that I've ever been around.
Well, give us some highlights.
He was like Keith Moon, only in a little bit more of a, I don't know, a witchy, devious way. I mean, he was like, he used to come to my room. He'd knock on my door at like 3 a.m. and I was totally asleep. I'd go to the door and open it, and he'd roll a smoke bomb into my room. And I go like, "Oh my God, Mitch, why'd you? Oh, fuck!"
Those things stink.
And then I'd have to like try to cover it up with something, and it's burning a hole in the rug. I go, "What are you doing?" And holy shit. I mean, I could go into many, many stories things that Mitch did. Taking a corkscrew to the side of an airplane in flight and pulling out chunks of the wall. Throwing hair gel in the middle of the airplane, acting like he's reading the newspaper and then dipping his hand in this thing called Dippity-Doo and then just throwing a big wad of it.
Right, you couldn't get away with that these days.
Someone's head in the airplane.
And did you play
and then
with?
he would go back to reading the paper like, I didn't do that.
Did you play with Buddy Miles too? Right.
Mischievous little guy. He's exactly the same height as me, and he was the most mischievous. I mean, I swear he was going to get us arrested.
Oh my gosh!
He did some things that I just can't imagine doing. And if he did them today, he would get arrested. He tried to take a flamethrower into Canada. He had just been to a surplus store, and he bought a flamethrower here in Seattle at the surplus downtown. And then we're going into Canada, and for some reason he's trying to bring this thing into Canada. And they stopped him and they said, "You can't have this. We can't. We're taking this away from you. What are you doing with a flamethrower?" And he goes, "Hey, I just thought, I'd go to someone's backyard, and try it out, And I'm going like, a flamethrower."
So he
Holy
out-crazied Sam Kinison then.
Oh, by far.
What was
by far?
Man,
Sam
what a storied
Sam was
career
just
you have had.
Fun-loving guy. Sam just loved fun. He wasn't doing anything. The worst thing that Sam did was he snorted coke like it was going out of style, and drank. His drug problem, that was his problem. But what he did when he was really high and everything was, the weirdest thing he would do is go show up at a strip bar, and go in there with his entourage and then just sit there, like a king and have a good time laughing his ass off in there. And, he just, he said he used to be a preacher, and he decided he wasn't being true to himself. And that's the Sam Kinison we ended up with. So he was just being true to himself. He even said to me, "What chance does a guy that looks like me have of having two girlfriends that are sisters and living with them and all these and knowing all these stars? What chance does a guy that looks like me have to be experiencing this stuff?" He said, "Brother, I'm going to drink from every cup."
Wow. Man, you have just had an amazing career. Now, you and I and John Passarelli, once upon a time, were hanging out in the woods doing something unmentionable at this time, and you shared with me the tale of working for Francis Ford Coppola on Apocalypse Now. Could you mind sharing with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Well, he found out about me through the newspaper because we were on our way to San Francisco. And we got a phone call when I was on the East Coast that this guy who was doing a movie. All I knew was some guy doing a movie, and he wanted to interview me to see if I could do some soundtrack for it. And so I went and met him. I didn't know. They said his name, but I didn't know the name then. And I didn't know that he had done The Godfather and all this stuff. I just thought he was just some little tiny filmmaker. I thought it was some small thing. So I went and interviewed with him. And I'm sure I came off as cocky to him because every question he had, can you sound like Jimi Hendrix? I said, yeah, that's not a problem. He goes, well, can you make up things that sound like Jimi Hendrix? I said, yeah, I can do that. And, I was really confident everything he asked me that I would be no problem. And he's just like, well, okay, well, it pays double scale. Do you want it? And I said, yeah, sure. And then I went back, and then I found out who he was. And I was like, what? This is the guy that directed The Godfather? Holy shit. To me, he just looked like Brutus, like from Popeye.
Hey, just quick, but before you continue, the correct term on the radio is actually POO.
And it is family radio.
Yeah, it's family radio, so be braced for that.
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Just to say,
Yeah,
but please continue. You were sharing with me. I'm just going to give you a little cue here. The easiest money you ever made, you were actually playing bass on part of that, correct?
Yeah, he had a bass that was sitting downstairs. He gave it to me because of what I used it on in the movie. It's the part that goes bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Randy, I can't watch that movie anymore without thinking of you every single time and listening for the Randy parts. And oh my God, man, you did such an amazing job.
Like when I did that scene, he came to me one day and he said, "Can I get you anything? Do you need anything?" And I said, "A bass guitar would be nice." And I only said it because I saw the bass in his basement. He had a theater down there, and he showed me what he had of the movie, so I would know what my scenes were like and what the feeling was like in the scenes. And I saw this Rickenbacker bass laying in a closet, open in the case. And so I said, "Yeah, if you could bring me a bass." He goes, "Okay, I'll rent you a bass." I said, "You don't have to rent it; it's in your basement." He goes, "Oh yeah."
It was
so
the basement.
I brought it down,
yeah.
And I used it on this thing. Then he came in to see what we were doing one day, and we were working on that scene, and I just finished it. He came in, he goes, "Okay, what are you working on?" And he told him what scene it was, and he said, "Oh my God," he said, "I've had that scene filled for months. My dad, my dad filled that scene, because his father wrote."
Yeah, he wrote the soundtrack to The Godfather. Yeah,
and so he got really angry at the producer, David Rubinson, who ended up being my manager later on. And he started swearing at him and going, "I'm over budget, and I can't believe you did this," and everything. And he yelled at him for quite a long time. And then he said, "Okay, I want to hear what you did. So roll it." And he rolled it with the scene, and he watched the scene and listened to my bass part and all this other, all this weird stuff I put in there.
Good job.
And all the weird poop. Anyway, he watched the whole scene, and then when it was over, he just turned to me and he goes, "That was effing great."
Man, that
and he goes,
rocks.
And I said, "Wow," and I was sweating bullets. I thought, he's not going to like this and everything. And I said, out of curiosity, he goes, "I'm going to use that." And I go, "Well, what was there? What exactly was there?" Because he hadn't explained the music that was there, only that his father had written it. And he goes, "Oh, we hired a 80-voice choir, and we chose them from the choirs all around the nation to form this super choir. And then we did the same thing with a symphony orchestra. And so we had a symphony orchestra and this choir, so 160 people. And
he canned all that.
They paid them all scale. They they put them up in a hotel for like a week while they got this straight and recorded it. And that's what my bass guitar and guitar replaced.
And it says to me, less is more.
And I'm going, and I was just, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what he was saying. And I said, and you're going to just throw that on the cutting room floor? And he said, yeah. I went, oh, excuse me. I couldn't believe it. And then I was so nervous, I said, well, I really like that bass guitar. And he goes, oh, you like the bass, huh? I tell you what, I give it to you.
Wow.
I went, no, really? And all of a sudden now I'm the proud owner of this early 60s Rickenbacker bass. I still have it. I have it deep in my closet, so if anybody ever breaks into my house, it'll be the last thing they come to. It'll take them a while to get to it, So it's my dearest, probably,
possession, because you probably have a lot of guitars, right?
Yeah, I've got a lot of guitars. I've always been partial to Strats, and whenever I see one that I like, if I have some extra money, I'll buy it if it's a good deal. If I think that if I ever sell it, I can make more off of it than I paid for it.
Wow.
And I started doing that, but when I started running out of room here, because I live in a very small house, and I started running out of room, so I stopped buying things and started selling things instead. And I got a lot of amplifiers and guitars and everything because I just loved sounds and the sound. Like I've got a couple of acoustic 360 bass amps in my living room because the second concert I ever saw was the James Gang, and that's what Dale Peters was using on the bass, and I loved the sound of that. And then many bands after that, I spent practically every spare dollar I had at the Paramount, and watching other shows. There, the stage manager there I grew up with, his
Mike Miles.
Mike Miles.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I know him well.
He was still there. Yeah,
know
I was
him
working
well.
there.
Yeah.
Did you ever recover the Strat that got stolen at the Hemp Fest?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Did you ever recover the Stratocaster that got lost/stolen at Hemp Fest?
No, I never got that back.
Yeah.
It's out there somewhere.
I always wondered what happened to that.
I think
it
it got
my
left
favorite
behind.
Guitar too. That was my number one guitar.
Yeah, I know. That was heartbreaking. I was the stage manager for the stage you were playing on, and I sent out All Points Bulletin trying to find that Strat for you. Didn't track it down.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yep.
But easy come easy. You got to give it all up someday.
Right.
Anyway, so.
And we're about to do for a break here.
Whoever
So.
got it. I'm sorry.
We'll finish up with your thought, and then we're about due for a break, and then we'll be back with more of your interview.
Don't go away, please.
Why don't we hear a little bit of Randy playing Foxy Lady as we go to break here?
All right.
Welcome back to Viva ENT. I'm Devin, the DJ. I'm here with Johnnny Rockstar, Eric CC Reidar, and Randy Hansen on the line.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. So I was going to ask you, Randy, so you played with Devo. Are You Experienced? And you're in the music video. How was that like?
Boy, that was a real trip. I had to come out of a coffin. It was weird because the place that we where they did the video was right next to a gigantic military cemetery. And then they got this coffin, and they said, "You've got to come out of this coffin." And it's like, so I repeatedly had to get into a coffin and then come out of it. and then get back in it, and then come out of it again, and do all this stuff. And there's a painting on the cover of the coffin. It just says R.I.P. When I got there, the artist was painting that, and it said R.I.P. Jimmy, but he spelled Jimmy Jimmy. And I said, that looks really good except for one thing. He goes, what's that? I said, Jimmy spelled his name Jimi.
And he didn't know that, I guess. Wow.
Yeah, he didn't know it, and he just started swearing and threw his paintbrush down and was looking at it, and then he went to work on repairing it and trying to make change the letters to look Jimi, and he got it to that, but now it was off center, and it didn't look good. Then he started swearing again, and then he just painted over Jimmy completely and just left R.I.P. on there. So that's one little trivia thing about that video that you might notice. But and then also, I used to do this guitar spin. I stole it off of this guy named MK in San Francisco, the guy that invented that thing where you throw the guitar over your shoulder and it spins around and comes back to you.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that trick, and I went to show Casales that when I went to do the video. And when I did it, it's the first time that the strap lock came undone and the guitar flew across. I threw it and it just flew away from me and landed on the ground. And
oh no!
I almost broke it. And he goes, "Well, that's a neat trick." And then I hooked it back up again. And I showed it to him again how it was supposed to go. He goes, "Yeah, that's really cool, but we're not really insured if that was to fly off of you and hit someone during the filming, and we could be in a lot of trouble. So I'd advise you not to do that while you're out there."
Right.
So I would have been the first one in any video to have done that. For a video on MTV, I would have been the first person to do that, and I didn't do it.
I think I saw that first on a David Lee Roth video.
Jimmy probably would have said, "You know what? I'm doing it because I know I can do it now safely." And it would have been on video, but, I chickened out. So that's another little trivia thing there. And,
interesting.
And then, just getting into this coffin, how many people get into a coffin more than once?
Not too many.
It is a storybook career for sure. It's like a fantasy. It's like a fairy tale. The Randy Hansen saga.
I show that video to people every now and then. Oh, and here's another thing about the video. There's two kids in the video watching TV. Those children are Timothy Leary's son and daughter.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and Timothy Leary was on the set with his wife, and the son and daughter were on the set when they were shooting it and everything. And I got to have lunch with him and his wife, which was really pretty interesting, and sit there and talk to Timothy Leary. And I never brought up any drugs or anything. We just started talking and everything. And his wife looked like younger than him. He looked like maybe 10 years younger. And her hair was all spiked. She was wearing a leopard skin bodysuit, and that fit really tight. And she looked like a dominatrix kind of.
What else the 80s look back then? Oh.
Yeah, and I was going like, wow, this guy is really far out, I was just thinking, wow. And here he is with Devo now, and how did they get a hold of him? And now that's his son and daughter in that scene where the things are smashing up against the wall and everything. And it was really something.
Speaking of iconic folks,
being on a Devo shoot is the weirdest thing you'll ever see.
I can imagine. That's quite the video.
And then, and then they have those girls all looking the same with the same headband on, all with their eyes closed and doing this motion with their hands and everything. It was very strange playing to an audience of girls that all look the same, and I'm performing for them, but their eyes are closed, so they're not really seeing me. I was going like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done.
That's bizarre.
Hey, did you get a chance to bro down with Paul Allen when he was alive? Because, Paul has done great things for Hendrix Institute. We're
I
getting
knew
all
that
those.
he was into Jimmy.
He was
He was
super
way
into
into
Hendrix.
Jimmy, but I actually never met him. I always wanted to meet him and discuss him, and maybe show him some things, Maybe he knows some things I don't know, and he could show me. And, it's just, wow, what a trip.
Well, Jimmy was
another-
infamous, apparently, for signing anything that somebody put in front of him, and that's what made a lot of those records that he made unreleasable, because there was 6 parties fighting over them. And the legend is that Paul Allen swept in and said, "How much is it going to cost for us to get this released?" And they go, $5 million. You go, here you go. And that's the legend. And that's why we have so many of these records that were previously tied up in litigation that we all get to enjoy.
Yeah, he
now.
was, and he was the one that helped the Hendrix family get back all their money, and because they didn't have any money to sue with.
Exactly.
So he helped them out.
He swept in.
Get all their money. That guy was golden,
He was.
Really cool.
He
Yeah.
brought the Seahawks to the championship as well. Boy, he really, and the Experience Music Project, I presume you've been down and seen that many times, right?
Yeah. And just doing all that, that guy was a blessing on Seattle.
He was.
Really liked Paul Allen a lot.
Yeah, he had a pretty kick-ass band as well. What was it, back to those guys that you played, the original players, Billy Cox and Buddy Miles, what were those guys like?
Billy Cox was really amazingly. He doesn't even consider himself a bass player. He says, "I'm an insurance salesman." I go like, "No,
Pays
you're
better.
one of my favorite. I'm sorry, but you're one of my favorite bass players. You came up with some really cool stuff with Jimmy and everything, and actually helped him write. And not only that, I mean, you've been friends with him ever since he was in the service when he was like 17 years old. That's when they met. They were 17.
Wow.
And
So
then
young.
friends for 10 years up until Jimmy died. So that was, as soon as he thought, I'm going to put together another band, he thought, I know another bass player that I really like and I used to jam with a lot. And he probably picked him because, Jimmy could have picked anybody to be his bass player at that point when the Gypsies happened. But he chose a friend rather than a star. Like he could have gone to Jack Cassidy, or there was numerous really great bass. I'm sure if Jimmy would said, "Hey, Paul McCartney, would you like to play bass for me for a little while?" He probably would have gone,
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. But he picked Billy Cox. And I'm really glad he did because that guy was so humble and such a nice, of all of those players, he was the most humble, the most well-adjusted, the most normal guy out of all of them. He's like meeting a repairman or something, a friendly repairman. That's what he's like. And then Buddy is really happy-go-lucky and was really super nice, but he had a larcenous streak. I mean, like the worst thing I ever saw him do was he used to do this repeatedly. At the meet, people would come up to meet him, and if he liked what jewelry you had on, he'd make a big fuss over it and say, "I've always been looking for something like that ring you got on right there. Wow, where'd you get that?" And he'd go overboard talking about it until they would give it to him. And that's how he got all of his jewelry. He had all this jewelry on, bunches of, necklaces and bracelets and rings, and he just had numerous things like that. And I watched him prize this stuff up as so many people at the meet and greet that it actually made me angry at him, and I said, that's not very, I said, you shouldn't do that. It's not, you got enough. You make enough money, buddy. You can go out and buy that stuff if you know. But I don't know. They wanted these people after meeting him. You know, this big star. They wanted to give it to him. You know, which is cool. But the way he got it, I just thought was questionable. You know,
But
after seeing him do it more than once. But other than that, the guy was really a cool guy. Really great drummer. He had the pocket better than any drummer I've ever played with. That guy would sit in the pocket no matter how intensely, you know, if he played a fast lick when he was playing drums, he'd play it exactly on time. And it was like he was like playing with a machine.
Yeah.
You know?
I get that vibe from him when I listen back to
Mitch would vary. Mitch would be going, sit back, you know? Like all of a sudden we'd be playing and then he'd go, sit back, and he'd slow the beat down and just kick back and you know, and he would change it. And I noticed that with Jimmy. When he played with Jimmy on the records, you know, and I heard live records, I was going like, wow, he's slowing down, he's speeding up, but somehow the way he does it seems okay. I mean, it was like because of his jazz chops.
Yeah, he's more of a jazz guy.
Good at jazz.
Yeah,
that he could do that and keep it interesting. It didn't sound like he was making a mistake. It sounded like this is purposeful. There's a reason why he's doing this. And so he could squeeze in more jazz. You know, he'd kick back. You know, it's going too fast. I can't play everything I want to play at that tempo. So we need to go slower now. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And you know, I learned so much from these guys, you know, about really the way to approach certain songs and everything. And, you know, and everything that I had, a lot of things that I had wrong, they helped me fix. And so, you know, so I'm still working on it. You know, I still listen and go like, I need to work on that. You know, that's a never-ending
learning curve. You know? Are you going to go back to recording your original material anytime soon?
I just now recorded about 18 songs with a former girlfriend of mine who she sings in a couple other bands. Her name's Lori Lowenstein.
Oh yeah, I know her.
And to me, she's like the biggest undiscovered talent in the Northwest, because this girl can write melody, she can write lyrics. She has a hard time writing the songs around the melodies and the lyrics, and that's where I come in. And so we've been writing together lately for about the past, 6 months.
Is that going to come out as like the Lori Lowenstein experience, or is it going to be kind of are you guys going to form a band and have a band name together? How's that
I don't know if we're going to. I'm doing this just because she writes really good, and it started out, we had written some songs before on a cheap 4-track that turned out really good, but the quality wasn't very good, and she wanted to re-record it. And this is after she'd gone through hell, you know, with she had a drinking problem. Doesn't have it anymore. She's been away from that for years now, and she got, you know, and she was talented even when she was wasted, but now she's straight, and all of her talent is just shining through like mad. So we've been able to write a song a week. We get together on every Wednesday and write a song.
That's incredible.
And so now we've got this big, you know, I've got probably 2 albums worth of material of her and I. We'll put it out, and if something hits, you know, if it ends up being something, you know, to the public, then I would consider putting a band together with her just to go out. But it would have to, you know, something would have to be a hit off of it. I'll tell you something. The stuff that we wrote together, there are many hits in this what we wrote, and I don't normally say that. Normally, I'm really super critical, and if I don't believe in it, I won't say it. I won't say I believe in something I don't really believe in. But she writes. She's a genius when it comes to writing and everything. And I couldn't write as well as I'm writing right now without her.
Wow.
She's the
It's good to have a
catalyst
partner.
that, because I can't write as imaginative lyrics poetically so well as she can. I can write that way a little bit, and I have written certain things that I really believe in myself. But as far as it coming naturally every Wednesday, come on. I don't know anybody else that I can write with on a schedule, on demand, and come up with something that I go, wow, that is really, I'd buy that. I'd pay money for that. If I didn't know you and this song came out and it was someone else, I'd be buying it. I'd spend money on it. I'd want it in my collection. Whereas 90% of what I write by myself, I go, I don't think so.
I think that's kind of a phenomenon that happens with a lot of artists. We're the hardest on ourselves, for sure.
I'm my worst critic.
Yeah, we bounce it off somebody else, and they go, "That's awesome." Like, are you kidding me? That's okay at best. I think that's.
It's hard to it's hard to keep your objectivity when you're talking about yourself.
Exactly.
It's like complimenting your. It feels like complimenting.
It's very
yourself.
egocentric and narcissistic.
I can't
to be
do
like,
that.
oh
I
my,
can't
yeah,
sit there and think,
yeah,
oh
I
boy,
totally feel you there.
aren't I great?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I've got big, huge gaps of learning, that I need to know in order to really, in order for me to think, oh, wow, man, I'm really something. I really don't have that.
And then there's to add to your great start there, if you don't mind. There's the phenomenon. First of all, I got to throw it out there that you were the first tribute band ever. Okay, nobody did tribute bands before you. I heard about you in like 78-ish, 79-ish, and I saw that show at Memorial Stadium, which you say was your second show. I think that was 78, something like that. And when we,
I can tell you exactly when it was because I have a poster. It was in 77.
Okay, there you go. So, but we have this phenomenon.
It was the summer of 77.
Of course, I remember it well.
Boys.
I was there. I just, we got 5 minutes left here, by the way, so we're kind of in this wrap-up mode. And I just want to share with the listeners that, here is the originator of this tribute thing, which is such is the mainstay of the music scene now. There's more tribute bands than there are original bands, which, quite frankly, I'm kind of hoping that we'll pendulum back to original bands again. Not because
it wasn't my idea to do Jimmy. Well, it was my idea to do Jimi Hendrix, but it wasn't my idea because the band I was in was a comedy band. They wanted to go make fun of rock stars.
Yeah.
And then they asked me who I wanted to make fun of. And I said, I don't want to make fun of them. I want to do Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, I did that in one of my bands. I have to throw down that I used to play Purple Haze on a kazoo, and then I burned it. That was my shtick.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that got a big laugh for once.
Your ideas are great, man.
Thank you.
I love your mind. You have a great mind for music and just for presentation.
Well,
That's great.
I appreciate that. Now I'm hoping that somebody will plug one of my shows. Shameless self-promotion is kind of the thing here. What do you say, Devin?
Yeah, because July 17th, you're playing at the Plaid Pig in Tacoma. And then July 24th, you're at Bubba's Roadhouse in Stolson. And then August 27th, the Mirkwood Pub in Arlington. And then Randy Hansen's playing out at the
July 30th at the Mighty Tony V's, by the way. And go on, please.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'll have to add that to my list. Randy Hansen's playing.
Need to go see those shows of his because they're really off the hook great. And he's very inciting of the crowd. The crowd always gets into his show because, there's a lot of people that play and everything, but some people are a little bit more natural at it than others, and you are.
Oh, thanks, Randy. Man, that means a lot.
People should come and see you because, I enjoy your shows.
Thanks, Randy. Man, that means so much. Thank you, bro.
And you're also playing at the Lake Leland Amphitheater in Quilcene, Washington, August 14th, Randy, and then in Motown in New York, August 28th, and October 16th at the in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, as well.
Well,
Yeah.
So book those flights early.
Definitely. Yeah, we're running out of time, but yeah, if you haven't joined the Viva ENT Rock, Pop, and Soul radio group on Facebook, come and join it. I'll be posting the videos as well as check out Devin Creisler Studios on YouTube. That's where I posted the Randy Hansen videos this weekend, and all of the Warning as well. Check out the playlist. Any last thing you want to say, Randy? Any shout outs?
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is, I'm 66 years old now, and my goal is to be still playing at 100. So that's my goal, and I think I can make it because of I met my father's brother, and he was really old, and he could run in place at 95 and
it
his
keeps you
knees
young.
up to his waist.
Rock keeps us young. Look at Keith Richards. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnnny Rockstar is here is 100.
I'm 109 now.
Yeah. So it's doing great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and tune in next week for Viva ENT with 1987 Part 1. And we'll love to have you back on the show sometime, Randy.
All right. And all you other musicians out there, pace yourself. We need you.
Right? Well, have a great evening.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
You too, you guys. It was great talking with you.
Right?
Love you, buddy.
Hey, we're going to go out with some Randy Hansen doing Machine Gun.